Welcome back to the project, renovating this 1857 Philadelphia row home. Today is a massive day for the project in terms of finally making this place look a little bit like a home. It's drywall day. These guys think that they can knock out the whole house in a day, which is just unbelievably impressive, and I'm excited to watch them work. And that is a wrap for drywall hanging day. It's crazy these guys can put this all up in one day. Much respect for the work they did. You can see it's a disaster everywhere. Luckily, waste clear out is in the quote. And I'm sure you're curious, the drywall quote was $8,000, which I think is plenty reasonable. And I think they did a great job. There's a couple areas where I could have thought a little bit more. So this right here is a detail I knew was gonna happen just based on how the bricks were and where this plumbing stack ended up. It's not in the wall. And I'm not too concerned about it actually, because this is right where like the pantry and the refrigerator is going. So I think that'll be fine, but I'll probably want to either spray foam or do something to kind of like air seal this cavity. Honestly, I really didn't think about drywalling this area, so it's really weird, and it's gonna be a challenge in detailing when I start doing doors and stuff. This framing is just outboard of this door opening. We didn't drywall here because there's like nothing to drywall to. And the whole reason this is all messed up, I know it's messed up, but I just wanted the biggest opening possible to the basement because I have big lumber I need to pull up. And I don't even know if I can get it out. So the bigger the doorway here, the better. And I'm just gonna have to deal with these weird conditions. Honestly, I didn't think about how drywall would go up here, and I don't really know how I wanna resolve this condition. I can do a lot with trim later, like I might wanna just build this down and have it level here. I don't really know. So all it means again is that I'm gonna have more work down the line, but that's fine, because I want time to think about it. I am beyond excited with how this is all turning out. Some people say I should get rid of these old beams. Personally, I really like them. And I think the more everything else gets cleaned up and the old rustic beams are left, it just brings back a little bit of, my fond memories when the house was all opened up, and also just the reality of these old timbers. So I think they're cool. I'm gonna mount lights on them. I'm gonna do stuff with them. It'll be great. The skylights, I'm actually really pleased with how these turned out. I was up there adding like shims and blocking, and it wasn't perfectly plumb, and it's just really hard to work up there, so I was a little worried about it, but it worked out totally fine. Like, if you're really looking at the details, you can see that things aren't perfectly straight, or the skylight might be slightly twisted in the opening, but honestly, I don't think anyone will notice that but me, so that's a success. Oh, one final note, this wall, I got more screws in the metal strap I put on there, and now with the drywall, this thing is very solid. So I'm really happy with how that turned out, and I'll have some nice like hardwood cap on top of it someday, and it'll look just dandy. If you've been watching the series from the beginning, you know that I've been getting a pretty great workout working on this house, especially earlier this year when I was doing all the brick stuff. Bricks are heavy when you have to move like hundreds of them. That adds up. One of the most important things when you're doing so much physical activity is to be eating right. And left to my own devices, I'm often just too tired to grocery shop, and I have so many decisions to make at the house that I just don't want to have to decide what I'm eating for dinner. That's where the sponsor of this video, Hungry Root, has really helped me through this process. Hungry Root basically becomes your personal nutritionist and shopper. With Hungry Root, you can specify your dietary restrictions or health goals. For me, it's trying to eat a high protein diet, and they'll do all the hard work selecting those foods to help you meet your health goals and conveniently delivering it right to your door so you're set for the week. And with Hungry Root, I know I'm getting the best for my body because they screen out over 200 bad additives like high fructose corn syrup, preservatives, and artificial sweeteners. Take advantage of this exclusive offer, get 40% off your first box, plus a free item in each box for life. Click the link below or go to hungryroot.com and use code ChrisHaitha. That's 40% off your first box, plus a free item of your choice for life at hungryroot.com using code ChrisHaitha. Thanks again to Hungry Root for sponsoring this channel. It's a new day and the drywall team is inside taping and mudding. It's gonna take all week, so I think it's a good time to work on this exterior section here. Basically, I'm gonna try to do all this siding and house wrap and whatever with all reused materials. I salvaged a lot from the siding team. I have some house wrap here. I did have to buy the drip edge, but that's fine. I just felt like it wasn't worth bringing the siding guys back just for this small little area, and I think it's fun. I know the first step is gonna be house wrap. I know a lot of the basic principles, lapping things kind of like shingles to keep water out. Well, here's where we're at. I'll be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing, but you know, it's an experiment. So we got the plastic capped nails. These just stop, you know, water intrusion into the nail penetration. I got the seams taped off for air sealing, and it's lapped with the top one over, the bottom one under, so water running down won't get in. Also a note, it's not vented. Someday if it's a problem, I could always cut vents into there and, you know, add a little thing up there, but it's such a small area. I'm hoping I don't have to worry about it. We'll see. I tucked this house wrap up and under the roof paper, which just makes sense to me. I don't know if that's how it's usually done. It's also tucked up on the sides. There's gonna be a lot of protection here. I'm gonna have the drip edge, the roof paper going over that drip edge, and then a fascia, and that drip edge goes over the fascia. So all this water is hopefully not even getting back to this level. What I learned from the roofers with drip edge is that the bottom of the roof paper overlaps the drip edge, and on the rakes or the sides, the drip edge actually goes on top of the roof surface or the roof underlayment. Picked up a new tool for this little siding job, and it's very heavy, very heavy. Can you guess what it is? It's just a big piece of steel. Well, if you haven't guessed yet, it is a brake, which is what you use when you're bending aluminum flashing. The siding guys had a really big one, an 8-foot long brake, so they could do 8-foot long pieces of flashing. I don't think I need that. They're really expensive. So this one's only 4 foot. I just got to figure out how to use it. Well, I've gotten sidetracked once again. We have a bit of a issue with the tub and the shower. So typically the flange is like just a plastic thing that secures to the stud and then your cement board laps over it. But because the flange is so thick, you can see they stopped the cement board at the top of the flange, which is not the ideal detail because you could imagine any water that gets back there can, you know, skirt around and just get into the wall. In this area, it's not the end of the world. The cement board is sticking out past the flange. Basically, we need to do another cement board, probably a 1/4 inch, that can sit on top of this one and lap all the way down. Now, the issue on the 3rd floor is a little worse. It's my fault for not being thorough enough. And honestly, I kind of noticed it and I forgot to do anything about it. So that's on me, but you can see it's the same deal. And here, for whatever reason, the cement board stops like a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and you can see into the wall cavity. So like, you know, I can't tile to that. Here, the cement board is back behind the flange, and then over in this corner, it's a little bit of a better condition. I don't know what happened with the framing, but if you hold it here, you can see this gap. Basically, this should all be touching. So long story short, I need to cut down a bunch of thin like shims basically to screw to this cement board and into the studs so that the next layer of cement board can lap all the way down. Got this table saw from a friendly subscriber who dropped it off from Chicago. This is actually the first time I'm using this table saw. I want to make sure I know how to use it right. There's another issue up here where spackle guys unfortunately buried my low voltage in my nice little shower detail that I'm so excited about. So, gotta try to find it somewhere in here. It's tough. Where is it? Oh my goodness, I'm not seeing it. Drill a hole up there, I guess. Who would do such a thing? Who would see a little wire and just push it into the hole like no one's gonna notice? Oh, I felt it deep in there. I don't see the wire. Oh, thank goodness. All that work for this little wire. All right, hopefully they don't lose that again. One of the reasons I'm spending so much time on this wall is because there's going to be 24 by 48 tile, and it's especially unforgiving if the wall isn't plumb. Oh, this is a terribly tedious job. I'll be honest, it's not going well. So at first I wanted to just cut strips, line them up at the bottom, screw them in, call it a day. But what I realized is even if I got them lined up at the bottom, when I got to the middle of the wall, there was still a lot of rocking. It's just because there's all kinds of variation. The new strategy is just cutting thinner shim pieces and then using other shims to shim out like every so often, getting it level, and then I'll, you know, hold the level up here and slide a shim in to get it right where it needs to be. I spent at least an hour on my first attempt, then I changed my mind, took it all down, tried this next approach, and unfortunately, this didn't work either. I took a little break to think about this. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of issues. One thing is my blocking. I just didn't put blocking along the whole length, and that's really not helping me here. The other thing is here is about a 1/2 inch, whereas on the other side, it's like an 1/8 of an inch. I want to make sure everything is plumb and level and perfect, and I can't really do that because that means that these shims are going to be like a 1/16 of an inch and there's just no structure there. I think that the best route here is going to be taking off this cement board, and then I can address all the issues behind like the lack of blocking. Also on this side, the blocking is not adequate. So I got to take it all off and then cut thicker shim strips, get it all right, then put the board back on. Well, that took all day. I finished. So there was no real blocking here. We got that, and I just used the blocking to get the level. And over here we had really bad blocking, and that's resolved. It's not perfect, but it's a whole lot better than it was. If you've been watching the videos for the past couple weeks, you might remember that I announced an opening reception for a gallery here in Philadelphia, and that reception was actually this past Friday. So I just want to thank everyone who came out from the Philadelphia area and beyond. I know there were a couple people from New Jersey and New York, so thank you so much for coming out to support the work. But there's good news if you're not in the Philadelphia area and you weren't able to see the show in person. All of the gallery prints are available online. They're archival pigment prints and they're signed and numbered, limited edition of just 5, so get them while you can. As you may know, I do sell prints on my own website that I print myself, but to keep the prices affordable on my own website, I don't use gallery quality paper and ink, and plus the limited edition nature and the association with the gallery makes these much more collectible. That's all I got. Back to the house. It's a new day and got this brake more or less set up. It's supposed to be like bolted. But you know, I got a nice little workstation for myself here. This is the stand for the chop saw. It's over there. And I'm slowly learning the lesson of making jobs easier for myself by, you know, not kneeling on the ground to do this. I also got this little bit of trim coil that's left over. It's a little bit damaged here and there, but I think it will do fine. And I'm so excited to get this job done because there's so much material that's just been sitting around. There's this, and behind all this wood and stuff, there's a bunch of siding that's saved. So once we can finish this job, we can get rid of a whole lot of this excess material on the job site. Bending aluminum flashing is kind of an art form, so it might take some time. So I'm using this flashing that the siding guys did as a reference. For one, this isn't the cut end down here, they tucked it back in. So I want to get that bend and then all the other bends. And this runs up the wall, is nailed in and whatever. So that's what I want here. When I was building this, a lot of people were worried about this concrete curb that sticks out, but I knew I could do it with flashing just like they did there. So I'm gonna have flashing that comes down over and over to, you know, get water around this thing. And one of the tricky things I'm realizing, for 2 reasons, I can't do like one piece of flashing all the way around. There's some cool techniques where you can do a 90-degree corner, but I don't think that would work because, you know, the flashing profile is very different because this one needs to stick out and this one just runs straight down basically. And also I only have 4 feet in length on my brake. This is about 2 feet, 3 feet, 2 foot. But I think it's gonna be a lot easier to do a side piece, figure out how it terminates into this front piece, and then the same on that corner. I'm not super confident after a little testing, but I think there's only one way to get started here, and that's by just giving it a shot. So we're gonna use the right size pieces. We're gonna measure it all out based on what the flashing needs to be out there. Give it a try. It's not awful. The most important thing here, one is that this surface is sloping down to shed the water off. Another choice I made here is to bring the flashing all the way down to the seam between the new slab I poured and the old concrete, because there's a chance water could migrate in here pretty good. It could be tighter down here. The next challenge really is resolving this corner detail, and I'm really not sure how to do that. Now that you know how this process works, and now that I've kind of figured it out, listen, I don't have high hopes that it's gonna be good, but I think it'll do the job, and I think it's fun to learn. Now it's time to just get to work, bend a whole lot of metal. Got one piece looking good here. I elongated this flange to wrap under the house wrap. I also added an inch to this bottom. Again, it just hides that seam. Really proud of this little chamfer. This is like 2.5 inches. This is about 2 inches, and it just fits nice and snug. I'm working on this piece. Well, I learned a little bit about directionality. I made the wrong side small. Back to the drawing board on this piece. Alrighty, we got the base flashing done. And listen, it's not good. It's definitely not good. There's you know, this little gap. I'll probably just do sealant in there. I couldn't figure it out. So whatever, this is fine. This will work. We got it taped off. We have the house wrap lapping over that flashing. So any water that comes down doesn't, you know, get into the sill plate and whatnot. The next step is flashing along the sides. If we go again to our reference material, this is very similar to the condition we're gonna have where they just did a little bit of flashing where it meets the brick. I'm just gonna do it like this because that's how they did it. Now realizing the downside of these plastic cap nails. I don't know if you can really tell. There's one under here, makes a little bump, and I don't know what's gonna happen when I'm installing siding over these. Maybe you're only supposed to use them if you're doing like a rain screen application where you have the vertical battens, because these are definitely gonna throw things off with my siding. We'll see, but we're pretty close. There's a detail up here where this flashing meets the drip edge, and as it is now, this extends outboard of the drip edge, which I don't think is good. So I'm gonna make a little like return flashing that dies up into that drip edge. But otherwise, I think it's looking pretty good. We're pretty close to being able to start installing the siding probably next week. So I kind of improvised, and it's not great, but it could be worse. So I didn't want to run this all the way up because then it would be outside of this drip edge and rainwater just runs right behind the flashing. So instead, I made this kind of specialty taper piece so that it can tuck right under the drip edge. And the downside is this edge is going to get a lot more water than like a vertical edge. So I guess I'll have to be extra careful with the sealant there. So with that done, the flashing is complete. We still got to seal, of course, and we're ready to start on siding, but we're out of time, so that's a job for next week. This week was real light for me. I was just waiting for the drywall guys to mud and sand, staying out of their way, and a much needed break. And I'm actually kind of shocked and pleased that I was able to get this flashing done today. I think I could probably finish all the siding in one more day. So it's a fun little project. That's all for this week. I've been putting all the pieces together to get, you know, finishes, kitchen, finalizing all my designs. And they're still changing too. It's like never pencils down. There's a couple lights I wish were in different locations, but all in all, moving forward at a quick pace, and I'll see you next week.